Hi team, welcome back. Um, Hopefully you're getting kind of the hang of these, so we'll just kind of jump in. We're going to continue our journey with Excel and Tableau. We're going to do a follow-up to that kind of e-commercial or e-commerce profitability analysis. In terms of learning objectives, you can review these and see what's ahead. You'll see I'll kind of pivot quickly from Excel. So I at least have to show you some of those things because a lot of best practices are still in there. Plus, you can visualize things in it, but a lot of it's like the data management side, organization, such that you can create the variables that you want or need. You're also going to do some of that in within Tableau, within the program here. So we're going to kind of show you how to do that with things like calculated fields, logic statements. They exist outside of Excel, so you can use them if you want. And I'll introduce some new ways to link across dashboards. In terms of due date, check the learning management system for when this is due. Make sure you get it submitted. It should be similar to the past one where you'll have this Excel file and you'll submit your profile there. And you'll submit the Excel file for this one. Okay, assignment overview. Again, we're going to build upon the work that you just did where you were looking at profitability for Southwest Office Solutions. Really, we're just going to try and deepen your analytical kind of skill set. I'm also going to leverage a little bit more kind of business knowledge where we kind of dive deeper into those things as you go through. So last time you gained a sort of foundational experience exploring the company's data, identifying some key profitability patterns. Now we're gonna get better, right? We're gonna expand those capabilities by doing a little bit more sophisticated data management, some visualization techniques. That includes where we're kind of starting to transition into more of that kind of storytelling piece and how we communicate things. And our audience here will be kind of that executive team for Southwest Office Solutions. Again, you're not at this point where I'm going to have you go super deep and make super specific recommendations. We're still kind of exploring the data and the tool, but we're slowly pivoting that way. Like most good things, if it's common, I want you to see it over and over and over. So we'll do a quick review of some things that you've done before. But we're going to continue building knowledge, especially around a little bit of Excel, but a lot of it's about Tableau, how to start kind of thinking about these stories. A reminder, again, I want you to differentiate yourself following the guided tutorial that I help you create. You're going to then create your own set of advanced visualizations without any guidance from me outside of what you've seen in the tutorials thus far. This is going to allow you to really demonstrate your growth as an analyst and for you to differentiate yourself from maybe others in the class. Make sure you're kind of following along. You don't want to miss things, especially on the data cleaning side of things, because it makes your life a lot harder. In terms of required materials, the data set looks similar, but please download this MIS 561 Retail Order Analysis Part 2. Don't start from the one that you've already cleaned up because I'm going to do some different things. So utilize those kind of pieces. In terms of the technology, I think everyone has it at this point, but if for some reason you've lost them, I do have that technology requirements document. All right, how are you going to get graded? Part 1, just like before, follow what I'm doing, right? So within the tutorial, do what I do. Complete all the steps outlined in the tutorial portion, both Excel and Tableau. Then each step sort of builds upon previous work to do that. And then component 2, your turn. And I get you started on this, but you're going to demonstrate your skills by creating 2 original visualizations. If you want to do more, that's fine. I wouldn't move much past 3 maybe. Dashboards get cluttered. And so now, instead of thinking about profitability, we're going to think about a component of it. And so I want you to start looking at cost, right? The negative side of things. So you can look at average cost or average cost per item, which I talk a little bit more about in the data side of things. What I need you to do for this is you're going to combine your 2 visualizations into a dashboard. I still again want a descriptive text box explaining any kind of findings, insights, anything like that. And then I'm going to have you link the 2 dashboards you've created, one of which will be the one in the tutorial. But instead of using story points, I want you to use a button. So do not use a story, only a set of buttons. Again, you'll see that. How I want it saved. I want your visual, the one that you created, to be the only one that I can see. All right, and then what you'll have is you'll have the button on there where I can press the button and again go and look at the one that I created with you. And so the idea of this is however many people we have in the class, you all have a different front screen rather than I have whatever 55 people with the exact same front screen. It'll all be kind of different there. So again, leveraging your unique skills to differentiate yourself. Um, in terms of quality control, professional formatting, design, no errors, typos, keep consistent with the color scheme, visual hierarchy, clear descriptive titles, and labels. It'll help again with the team understand things a little bit better. Again, I don't need you to make super specific recommendations. These can be built more on that kind of exploratory side of things. Where you just kind of get a bigger picture. Again, we'll start drilling down into those more explanatory dashboards as we kind of progress throughout the class here. Deliverable, same as last time. What you're going to do is do all the Excel work, do all the Tableau work, and then you're going to paste the link to your Tableau public URL here, save it, and then submit this to the appropriate D2L/Brightspace folder. If you have questions, email me, post the discussion board. I'll have them graded. You can always ask questions about that. Otherwise, let's just jump in. This, it should be relatively comfortable. Again, I'm going to go through, I'm going to do my kind of standard cleaning. You can kind of do your own, whatever you want to do. This is just kind of my kind of normal practice that I just like to go through. Something like this, make sure everything kind of fits nice. Anything that I see that I think should be like a currency, I may do like I'm holding the control button, something like this. I don't like accounting because I don't like the negatives like that, so I would do number currency. Again, personal preference with you. We'll have to deal with this discount. I'm going to deal with discount in Tableau this time. And everything else, kind of postal code, things look relatively nice. This one still needs a little bit of expanding going through. Okay, so I'll save it. Little things that we can do. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but there are some commands that I have found really useful, especially with data like this, where I want to split things. And so dates, generally dates don't work super well in terms of really just leveraging them in Excel has been notoriously difficult. So a lot of times, so I'm going to do Control or Command X, and I'm going to move order date over here, and then I'll just delete this. I don't really care about ship date right now. You can do like subtraction and things. Like you could do like this minus this. And a lot of times it'll tell you like it took 3 days. I should have done ship date after. So maybe yeah, let's create that variable. So days from order to shipping, and something cool like this equals ship date minus order date. Hit enter. I double click it down. Some of these are 7 days. It's a long kind of delay there. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead, copy, paste, just get rid of the values, and then I kind of jumped the gun here. So I'm gonna again move order date to the end. And what I really want to do is, what if I wanted to look at this by month or day or year? Right now, it's going to be really hard to do. It's actually easy in Tableau, hence why I'm going to leave shipping date by its normal self because I want to show you this. One thing I may do is I'm going to wrap this text and then go here, double click. You can kind of get your headers that look a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. But I want to split this so that it's basically month, day, year. And so if you want, you can't do it yet, but the way that I know that this thing looks is, notice that it's split based upon the same character, that slash mark every single time. And so this one gets kind of lost a lot in here, but if you go to the data tab, and then you should see what we call text to columns, right? So if you click on this, and I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever, the naming of it, um, but whatever. Like, so like I'll click on this and then it's going to be delimited. I'll do next. And then you tell it how it's split and it gives you a preview down here, right? But notice that I know that it's split on that dash. So I'm going to check other, and then I'm just going to type in that dash and then it splits it, right? So now it's month, day, year. And you can do next if you want and just tell it like, oh, like it was a date, month, day, year. So it kind of understands that. You don't actually have to go that far into it. But if you do finish, when you do that, sometimes it will leave it like this and leave it as a date where this should be the month, right? It doesn't make any sense. And so I'm just going to Control or Command Z, do text to columns. I'll do next. If it were fixed width, like every third term, you could do it that way. Most of the time it looks like this, and I'm just going to do finish. And then sometimes you'll have to go in and basically tell it, I'll do data or home tab, just tell it is a number, and then it will round it to 2 decimals, something like that. But then you have the month, the day, the year. And then remember, this is order, so I'll do order month, right? Order day, right? And then order year. And that's a lot of times because if I were to like split out shipping or something like that, I may want to just be able to understand the difference between the two. Sorry, my brain's moving a little slower today. Another thing is like, so you can see how to split things apart. Another thing is putting things together. So for any reason you would want to concatenate, or I'm speaking Excel talk, combine these things together, there is a command called concatenate. So I'm going to right click, insert, and then I'm going to do, what if I wanted city, comma, state? So I wanted them together. It's relatively easy. So it's equals concat. Right? You may still be able to use concatenate, but that's just an old feature that they're retiring. So concat is the one they're going to use, and then it's just I want this cell, comma, and then if you just clicked this, right, it's going to just put those things together, which it's ugly, it doesn't make sense. And so what I do is, because I want a comma and a space, I will do quotes because it's a comma, right? And Excel thinks commas are, actually, let's try. So I did an extra comma. So it's going to split on comma. So I got to tell it, like, hey, like I want the actual word in there, even though it's not a word, and I want a space, right? And so then I'll do this, and then I throw a comma. So it's really, right, concat H2, comma, and then in quotes, comma, space, comma, I2. So because I want that comma in there, and then it does city, comma, state. So you have it for kind of all of them, which is really nice. Right? I think that's a nice kind of clean feature of it. I will again copy, paste the values, just a really fast way to put things together. I see a lot of it where maybe you would split first name, last name of customer. That way it may be a little bit more consistent. So if I wanted to practice, I always leave a space because if not, it will overwrite the top of it. But again, just here, data, text to columns, delimited, and then now it's split on a space. And so it gives you a spot here. But be careful. Now this person has 2 last names, right? Or Van Huff, right? Which is actually cool to see, right? That's going to cause problems because then I'm going to split on it. And so for this one, I'm not really sure how we would do it without causing any problems. What I may do would be I would actually do a second line here. I would do this. I would do then text to columns, delimited, space, and then do finish. Yes. All right. And then, so this would be first name, all right, name, and then I'm going to need, I'll insert a column and I'll do last name, all right, where I need to concatenate things again. So I'm going to concat, all right, this, comma, and then I need a space, all right, so I would do this, comma, whatever's in this cell, all right, close the parenthesis, hit enter, all right, nothing's in there, I'm back and it's fine, double click it down, right, O'Donnell, Van Huff, so it puts everything back together the way I like it, and then again, copy, paste the values so that that's all gone, then I can go back and delete, be good to go there. So just some easy, cool features. Another one that I like, which makes our life a little bit easier, is on this categorical info sheet. I have category and subcategory together, which I want them split, right? And this one is split on that. Luckily, it's not on a space because then Office space binders I'd have problems. But you can, it's that underscore. So again, I would right click, insert, go here, text to columns, delimited, and now it's a special character. It's an other, shift underscore there, finish, okay. And then it's category, all right, control or command X, subcategory. All right, so that's pretty nice. Makes our life a little bit easier. I want to just create all of my variables in Tableau. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and save this, and we'll be done with the Excel piece. And then I'll bring in the general info and then the categorical ID. Maybe I'll bring in all of it and link it all together. And so pull open Tableau. All right, once you have it, again, it's going to be an Excel file. So we'll do Excel. We'll go through, find out where your data is. All right, mine, I'm working on the key as I build this. Right, so I open it, I let it think for a little while. I then am going to use the data interpreter. I should see all of our sheets on the left-hand side. All right, so now I'm going to bring them over and just make sure they match. So I'll start with just the categorical ID and I'll drop it. Hopefully things look relatively normal there. Nice, it sees category and all those. I'll then bring in general info. And I'm always hoping that it links. It did link correctly. So then I'll bring it number and order ID. And how you drop it shouldn't matter. So if I link it off the bottom here, I could also link it here. And I'll move it over. It's not gonna matter. If there was some sort of like sequential thing, that may make a little bit more sense to use there. And I already know if I'm looking at number order, this is gonna be a problem because remember, I want it to be a number, right? And so I'm going to have to create that variable. So that's what we're going to do first as we go in. We'll go into sheet 1. You should see a lot of this information here, but we're going to start with creating a calculated field. And so I'm going to do let's find analysis, create calculated field. And then I'm just going to do discount, and then it's percent. And then you kind of want a way, like, maybe like, I don't know, some way for you to describe what it's going to look like. So the one without this, I'll go ahead and know that this is my continuous one. But this is when I need an if command. And I like doing this in Excel more than I like in Tableau because I can actually see what happens. But basically, I want to start with if, and again, we don't have to do equals, right? We'll just do if, right, discount, all right, and then equals, or actually we'll say greater than or equal to 0. And then you don't use comma, you just use spaces, right? And it knows they're an error because I haven't finished it. Then, all right, then, all right, I want it to equals, what do I want? Discount percent. And then the last piece of this is instead of that comma and the logic, you have to do else, right? Else, right? I want it to equal 0, right? I don't think I need, so yeah. So I want to get rid of this, right? And then I want to do end. And so a lot of times, if you make a mistake, it'll tell us. So this says like, it can't compare strings to integer values. And so it doesn't know that this is a number, right? So it's going to cause a problem, right? Because it's thinking this, thinking through like it's treating it as a string, which is a word. All right, so you can, and we'll see if this works. I haven't actually played around with this one. We'll do a drop down. All right, and instead of over here, which is where you would think you would see it, you have to actually click on the ABC and see if you can change it to a number. And it may force it, and it's looking like that, which is interesting. Now the calculation is valid. So it's basically saying if the discount percent is greater than 0, then discount, just it equals that variable. Else, give it a 0, right? Because remember, that's when it was null or none. So I'm just going to do apply. I'll do OK. And then I want my calculated field. I'll drag it up. And then I just want a table. I don't want this. So I'm going to do, How do we want to check? Let's do by maybe product ID, something like that, and just make sure that I kind of see numbers in it. Ooh, it's got double. All right, double things. And I'm making sure I just don't see any nulls. All right, so that actually looks nice. There we go. And we could do, again, measure average in that kind of piece. All right, so it's a lot harder to kind of look at like what this looks like. So sometimes you have to just build some visuals. And so we might as well, right, build out some kind of very basic visuals. So I'll build out, again, maybe a very, let's do a simple bar graph. And again, I'm going to be careful with I'm going to do my default settings. So default properties, number format. And so this is a whole number if you remember the data. So we can't actually treat it as a percentage. But what you could do is a number custom. And at the end, I put this percentage on there. And then we'll do OK. And then we'll do discount percent. And again, I want the calculated field one. I'll do the drop down. Default properties, aggregation, and we'll use that to the average. And then I'll bring it over. We'll kind of drop it up here. And then I'm not really sure how you all want to look at it. It's kind of up to you. We've done a bunch of different types of charts. One thing we haven't done would be like a line graph. I don't know if line graph would be the best one for this because it's not like I'm looking at discounts over time, but we can kind of look that way. And so I'll do, if we scroll down, so interesting that order month, order day, order year, they're just looking at like their numbers, which we know that they're a date, and a date would look like this. And so you can actually, again, force it to do something different. So I would go in here, I would do the drop down, and then I would do change data type. And it is it's not really a string. Let's do geographic role. How would I want to do this if I have a hierarchy? Let's create a hierarchy where this would be like order timing. All right, we'll do OK. And then we can move things in there. So here's the order year, and then I'm just going to drag order month down underneath it. Come on, why is my computer being so slow? All right, I'm going to drag and drop, and then I'll do the order day under to here. And then again, we need to convert it to a date. And again, things are hidden a lot in Tableau. So I want to click on the drop down, but I just want to change the number format here. All right, so I can change it to a date. All right, and hopefully it kind of thinks through. And I'll click on this. And again, this is a date. All right, and then the last one, all right, will be, the last one is here is a date as well. All right, so ideally it will treat this as a date. We'll kind of see. The easiest way to do it is honestly, you could either drag the date, the month, the year up here, but I may drag the year and drop. Come on, why is it not going to go up here? Oh, my computer's going slow. Like my mouse is kind of extra sensitive. I'll drop and see what happens. All right, and then it's flipped the way I kind of want to see it. I want to see it this way. All right, so I'll flip. All right, and then it says January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. All right, and so that's really nice. It has the month, even though I wanted the year. All right, so I can actually drag that up and put it to the left. It technically should be reading this less as a number and more of what we call a string. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to mess around. I'm going to click on this. I want it to be a string, so I'm going to do the drop down. I will do convert to discrete, which is not really what I want to do, even though that may treat it a little bit better. And I'll do the same thing, convert to discrete, convert to discrete, and then I'm going to pull these off of here. Come on, why is this thing going so slow? off, and then I'll bring, this thing hates that I've messed up the ordering of it, so I've got to be careful. All right, and then I'll bring over, I'm just going to bring over the order timing. And drag, something like this. So now it actually starts as the year, and then you can actually go further down by clicking this and break it down by month within each year. You can actually go down within each year and look at things. It is reading these as kind of these crazy years and how it kind of goes through and labels the axes. Let's see if we can format it here. I don't really want to format it. I kind of want to edit it. Format, and then dates. We can then pick how we kind of want it. So maybe we want standard short date, and then click off and just see what happens. Again, it's one thing that's weird with Tableau. It's used to like hitting a button and it works. Again, it doesn't change the labels the way that I really want it. Within panes. Yeah, so we may just have to kind of play around with it. I don't want to kind of wait too long. I would go in. I don't really want to drill down. If I format it, it's still not going to do kind of what I want. So we probably should have left it then as a typical day, month, year. And so what I'll do is, rather than look at this, what I'll do, I'll build this. I'll take off order month. I'll just bring over just the ship date. And then I'll go up and drop it. And anytime you have dates, they typically want to default to a line graph. And this is relatively interesting. So it basically looks like I'm going through and I'm offering larger discounts up in 2020. Can't imagine why that may be the case, if anything important happened there. But I can again drill down into where I can start looking at it. So now I can see like, well, I only have data on one data point on that first quarter. And you can actually flip these things around. So I can drag these pills and kind of drop this way, where instead of looking at it by year, by quarter, now it's by quarter, by year, where we could actually look, well, how's quarter one been over these? Quarter two, it's this. And then I always like to look at like, well, like what should I visualize across this? And I kind of think like it'd be cool to see maybe different types of products that I put on here, which we actually have. So if you go up, you could do a bunch by like state, like, but you maybe getting a little bit too much. But if I wanted, I could pull a category over to color. All right, and then I have it broken down by, well, furniture, office supplies, and things like that. And then I like to, again, get as much information as possible. So I could go to analytics, bring that average line over. So where are you? An average line. And then instead of just dropping it on the whole table, which would be my average across all four, why not go through and look and see through here? And so again, I like the values. So I think you have to edit these all at an individual piece, but I'll right click. I would do edit. And again, I like to show, come on. All right, I do not want whatever it's added. So per pane, I don't want the averages, or 60 and 80%. I don't know what happened. Control or Command Z. And then right click, edit. Gotta be careful not to click on anything. Come on, is this a joke? Okay, and then we'll go average. The label is just a computation. We'll do a custom one, and then I'll just type in here average equals, nice, and it's doing all four, which is really nice. All right, and then we want the value, and we should see it populate over here if my computer wasn't going so slow. And we'll do okay. All right, and then again, you could do the little things where I may format this and get rid of the grid lines because I think they can get kind of confusing. Here, none. and something like that. So then we can see, and I like to title things, would be something like, come on, daggone it. So something like average discounts over time, right? And it's going to populate here, and I'm going to save, right, and restart and hope my computer works a little faster. All right, so take this time to save, and I'm going to do a quick restart and try and get back into this with a faster, so less pause. All right, so we have a very simple thing here. If you wanted to go through and let people maybe again kind of play around with this, see how it kind of varies by certain things, you can add various things. Like we already have category, but it may be weird to have subcategory on there. But maybe by state, maybe even by region. So we could throw that onto a filter up here. We would do all, apply, and again, it looks like nothing happens. We do the drop down, and we'll do show filter, right? That way then people could look based upon that. And you could flip this, right? So maybe I would want to do, instead I could have region on color and then category as a filter where I would do a drop down, which actually looks pretty cool. It's like, wow, we're giving a lot of discounts to the central region across sort of all of the different period. So here I would then do just show filter. Where are you? My brain's not working. Show filter. And then drop down value field settings. Multiple values drop down. Just so again, it's kind of a little bit cleaner. All right, for you all, we're going to need again total cost and cost per item, which those are calculated fields we'll have to create as well. So let me go ahead and be a best practice here. I'll rename. This will just be discount over time, something of that nature. But then I'll go in and I will create two more calculated fields, right? So I will do analysis, and I need total cost, which is just revenue minus profit, right? And so if I go through and I have create calculated field, I could do cost, right, which would be just my revenue minus the cost, or not the cost, the profit. And I'll do, because I have a typo there and it has to actually look like that, I'll do okay. All right, and then I need, let me make sure, I do edit this, make sure it said command, okay, valid. And then cost per item would be cost divided by the quantity, right? And so again, analysis, create calculated field, this will be cost per item. Right, something of that nature, and then it should be just cost, enter, divided by quantity, hit enter, we'll do okay, and we'll see kind of all those things kind of pop up. All right, and so I'm going to make just some very simple visuals, so I'll create a new one. I'm going to stick with discount. I'm going to let you build something with the cost per item and the cost. Remember that we did profit per item last time. It's kind of up to you. But I may look at something like a small scatter plot. So maybe I want to see how discount percent relates to, I mean, there's so many things that we can do here. We can look at quantity sold. And again, it starts as these sums. And so I've kind of done bad practice here as I've gone through, but I'm really exploring the data here. So I don't know as much. And then I will do, again, two ways we can deal with kind of scatter plots. We can figure out what we want as it to be split. So if I wanted to like by category, I could drag this to detail. And remember, there's only three. So it would be the discount average versus the quantity average for each one, which I don't think that makes sense. I may want to see like the product name on here to go through and see if there's like, and then now it's saying, well, I have 195 nulls. And that's because I'm using that variable that has the nulls in there, and those would all be 0, right? Which I wouldn't want to do. So I'm going to drag that one off, find my discount again, and make sure I'm using the calculated field one. That'll make it a little bit easier and a little bit nicer. And so I don't know that I see any type of kind of relationship between the percent discount offered and the quantity, but I don't want to just eyeball it. If I can do stats, I will. So I like to bring in kind of the trend line and just kind of see. It looks kind of downward sloping. You can create clusters, right, where it then, right, it's doing some mathematics behind it and kind of the different ones. I don't actually like know the logic behind it. So I would want to actually go in and figure out like how is it forming these clusters if I was doing that. And so that one makes me a little bit nervous. You can look into it. It's just when someone's doing something for me, I want to kind of know. So I don't like to pull that one out if you're kind of going through. But I may look at, and again, I may want to split things by that same kind of set over here, where maybe I want to look at category and region. So in that one, I did a category and region. So I'm going to do region. I'll drag that onto color and see if there's any kind of difference. It doesn't look like there's a major difference, and it gets kind of a little bit kind of wonky. So maybe I don't use that. Maybe I'll use that as different shapes. I don't know why. I don't think that will make us a whole lot of difference. I would then think about, what was the other one that we used? We used category, so we could pull category onto color and see maybe something like that. There may look like a small difference in relationship. We can't always flip it if you're uncomfortable with that. You could think, well, if I'm giving larger orders, what happens to the percent discount? Doesn't look like too crazy a relationship. So this may be one where honestly, I don't show it, right? I'm just exploring through the data as we go through. Another cool one is like ship mode. So I could do ship mode on the color and see if like maybe that has any issues, which doesn't really look like it. Some of these I'm giving 80%, which is a little bit wild to go through. All right, and so again, a lot of times you can explore data and you find nothing, right? What I will do now is I'm going to introduce a new term called a set, right? And so it's a way to like kind of like conditional formatting, but I like to show it in, let's say the easiest way. I think the easiest way to see what's kind of happening is when you have a large group of things. And so I'm going to create two sets of sets. I'm going to look at the top 5 states that I give discounts to, and maybe the top 5 customers or something of that nature. I'm trying to think like you could do something with like cost, like what are your top 5 highest costing items, something of that nature. That would be something cool to see. All right, so I'm actually just going to go ahead. I'm just going to delete this sheet. I'll create a new one, and then I'm going to do let's do top 5. Let's do discount customer, something crazy like that. So I'm going to start with, I have first name, last name of the customers. I also have the customer ID here. So I could bring over last name, first name, and if I have them kind of together, it's very odd. So I wonder if I can concatenate things within this, because that's kind of what I need to do, right? So maybe I'm going to think of the best way. All right, so you can concatenate these, right? It's another calculated field, I believe. And so I'm going to do analysis, create a calculated field, and it'll be last name, comma, first name. All right, now I'll go through here, and there should be a concat. Oh, is there concat? Oh, it has concat. All right, so it's easier than I thought. I had to go make sure I double check. Just create a calculated field, and it'll be last name, comma, first name, and then it is easy as last name, and then plus, and I want that comma space. All right, and so I'll do the quotes, and then I'll do plus, first name, and something like that. and it is valid. I'll do apply, I'll do okay. Let's see if it worked. I'll do columns, doesn't really matter. And then I will do, I want to look at the discount percents, right? So I want to make sure I get the right one, which is my calculated field one. And then I like to see it in a table. And there's way too many to kind of see these through. And I do have some nulls in here. So a lot of things that you can do with this, you can just right click and exclude them. It pops into a filter automatically and puts it, sometimes it puts it over here, but I guess that we don't have it. But what I want to do with a set is I want to do the top 5 customers based upon this. And so a lot of ways that you can do this. I want to go to the analysis tab, but it won't let us do that. And so oddly enough, and again, why Tableau can be a little bit wonky, you got to pick the categorical variable that you want the top 5 of. So if you go down here and do this drop down and do create, you should see an option to see a set, right? A set is kind of like just a simple version of logic. And then I'm gonna click over here onto the top, and then you can do by field. So you're gonna do that category, and what do you want? Well, I want the top 5 discount percent by average. You can actually do formulas and stuff, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll do okay, and then you'll see this little set pop in here. And if you just want to filter it in, so top 5, bottom 5, I would do here, and then it pulls over, here are the 5 that I'm giving the highest discounts to. It may be cool to see the quantity of orders with them, so I may honestly pull quantity over onto text because it is a table. It starts as sum, daggone it. I may do it, maybe I'll do it up here. All right, and then do measure, average again. Maybe I'll have it in detail as well. No, let's do it in text. I don't want them to stack is the hard piece. If I pull these up this way, it's not as bad. Let's try it. I just want to click on the table. There we go. I don't know why. I have to pull it back into a table. And so then I can have my top 5 highest ones. I think it makes sense to go through here. Right, we're on average giving these people 70% off as we go through, and I may do Control-Shift-B to make this thing a little bigger so it looks a little bit cleaner. I may then also look at like top 5 discount states. So same thing up here, but I could do a map, which I think would be pretty cool in terms of let's just do state. We'll drag it over. We'll start with discount percent, and then we'll make it a filled map, something of this nature. And then it kind of does the same thing. I'll also pull the percent discount onto the label just so we can kind of see. We can see a lot of these I'm not actually giving any discounts to. And so again, if I wanted to do something like, you could do a calculated field whether or not we're giving an average, like any discount, which would be relatively easy, right? And so I'll actually do that. So I'm going to do analysis, and then I'll do create calculated field, and this will be something like any discount, right? Because we can use any discount. There, and so it's a simple an if command. So if, and then we have our discount percent, it is greater than 0. And you want to put a comma there, I do too, but you have to do then, and you got to do the format that they want. And what do we want it to equal? We'll do quotes, oops, yes, else, in quotes, no. It contains errors because I haven't told it to end. I've got to always tell the command to end, and now it's valid. We'll do apply, we'll do okay. And a cool thing that I've seen is you could drag this into filters, have yes, no, apply, okay, and then you can show it as a filter where show filter. Here are all the states where I am giving a discount, where I'm not giving a discount, right? So really it's kind of easy to see right there. And then remember, you can put things in the tooltip that interact with one another. So I could see the top 5, by state within them, which is another really, really cool, interesting thing. So I'll do all here, and I'll get rid of the any discount filter, but I will pull in into the tooltip right below it. I want to insert a sheet, right, my top 5 discounted customers. I'll do okay. And then if you hover over, right, Lisa Hazard, right, looks like New Mexico only has one. It's too small to kind of show. And the reason that it's only showing a couple, right, is because, right, I'm only going to find the top 5. And I'm going to mess with this. So first I want to mess with the tooltip. Let's make the width, let's make it 600. I'll do okay. I'd hover over. I see nothing. Then I can kind of see this. I may make this table a little bit smaller. So what if I do Control B? No, because I like the last name, first name. All right, so I may just modify again the tooltip a little bit further. Why not go 700 and 400? So that just tells you how big the text box will be when it pops up. All right, so it's only seeing the top 5. And so what it's done is it's not in the context. It doesn't know, because I want to see the top 5 by state. All right, so I'm going to rename this. So discount by state, and then I'm going to go back to my top 5, and what you'll see is now, right, it's got this tooltip up here. Like that wasn't there before, and it's like, well, you used it on a different visual, so is there something you want to do with it? And there is, right? So I'm going to do this drop down, and what I'm going to do is add to context. And all that's going to say is it's then going to filter with the map, right? So if I go here, I can see the top 5 each time within each state of where I'm giving these kind of people and the quantity that we're kind of doing it. So a really easy, cool way to see a lot of interesting, useful information that we can kind of leverage. So sets can be really cool. They can also do like, you could think top and bottom would be cool. So like discount, and then I have the maps by the kind of the region, that kind of profitability. Let's create at least one other one. So I'll bring out discount percent, and then I don't really know how I want to kind of see it. Let's see if I give different based upon shipping mode. All right, it's going to start with a bar graph. Oops, let's flip it. I don't know that I see any kind of crazy difference, so let's not move that. Let's do by category. This one looks a little bit different. Let's do maybe subcategory. Now, this one may look a little bit interesting. So I have lots of different things. You could change these up visual-wise. So one is kind of like a highlight table where it highlights like the highest and lowest. You could use kind of the very basic heat map-ish. I like to kind of look, some people like the tree maps where you can kind of see based upon color and size. And so I like, this is a new visual. You could also do bubbles. I don't get a whole lot out of the bubbles, especially when the color doesn't seem to make any sense when it's based on the category. So I may do something like this because then it shows the average discount. And then you can kind of modify these. I think it's cool to like look by and put a bunch of things in here. So I may put discount percent on the label, and then you can modify these things, right? So I may do alignment. Let's do it in the middle, something like this. I can make it a lot bigger, right? Let's do 16. All right, let's make it bold, something of that nature. So it's just a kind of easy way to see it as you go through. And you can kind of play around with these all you want. I like that it automatically does the top 3 in here. You could do, again, top and bottom discount sets. So off of the subcategory, same kind of thing, and then just leave it as a filter as you go through. You could do top discount by state as well. So something of that nature to let someone kind of toggle it on. So I'll do that. I'll do both of these. So I'll do right click, rename, discount by sub category. And again, we're just exploring data. I promise once we get into the next ones, we're going to start actually trying to send a message and convince them. The problem is right now we're still learning all the ins and outs of the tools, as you can kind of see. We could put, I think the category, these are all going to fall into the same type of category. So I could pull that into the tooltip. And so like these are all the various pieces, which is kind of interesting. You could build I don't know, a bar graph with a bar graph. Let's not get too crazy here. Let's just go ahead and do a set. Let's do a set by the state, so highest discount. So I'll find state, drop down, and then you're going to do create, right? And then a set, right? And then I'm going to do top, right? And then I'll do top five states by discount, so by field, and then top is obviously highest. And then right now it's set to any discount, which is not what I want, right? I want the discount percent without this. We can do top 10, you can do top 5. It's kind of up to you. We'll do okay. And again, nothing happens, but you could just drag it to a filter and it's like, uh-oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we have our top 5 here. You could also just have it be a filter. So you'll do what we call show in and out of set. All right, and then we want in and out. I'll do all and do okay. All right, and then bring it over as a filter. All right, this one may be one where you have a single value, what we call a slider. All right, so you can do like all, in, out. I would recommend renaming these, whether you do it here or on a dashboard. You can do the drop down. I would do edit title. I'll do top 5, or I'll say highest 5 discount, something like that, where it'll make it a little bit easier. And then just my preference with maps is to always lock them. So map options, get off the allow pan and zoom so people can't accidentally zoom in and out. Other things would be, I would do on a filled map, I would probably do map options, or not map options, sorry, background maps. I want map background layers, and I like to wash out the back so you can't see all the other stuff, which makes our life a little bit easier. Okay, I think those are a lot of interesting pieces. So let's build out maybe again a dashboard, and I want to show again one more thing, which is hopefully relatively useful. So I'll build a dashboard. Bear with me here. This thing's going to be ugly. It's just how it is, because I kind of how I built it. But I could bring out the discount state. I could then maybe have this be the ultimate one. If you don't like how this thing isn't fitting, you should be able to do this drop down and do fit to entire view. And then it doesn't have these labels on here because it's just too squished. Sometimes you can go back to here and on the label, there used to be an option to force the label on here. If you don't like these, you can change these different ones. I do not recommend, I don't know what I was doing here. I don't want to Gantt chart. Well, I want, again, this. Let's do Control Z so I don't mess things up. All right, but what you may have to do is just modify this to be a little bit smaller. And again, it's just kind of a back and forth that you kind of have to do. So it may be just click on the label, and maybe we make this, maybe we settle down and make it 10 or something like that, because it looks small there, but then we can kind of get it over onto here as kind of best we can. All right, so again, just going to take a little bit of playing around, kind of up to you. 8, something like that. It's a little bit smaller. If you want to mess around with the sizing of sometimes, you can click this. If you want to add other things to the tooltip, you can. I would probably put my variable of interest up here at the top, and then maybe I bold this as well and make it black. That way, when you hover over it, that's kind of the highlighted thing. You could also do it as red, because we're losing money on it. So I'll do this. That's not what I want. I want tooltip. Let's make this, just this part red. We'll do okay. And oh man, brutal. Something of that nature. Same thing. You can't change each piece, because I wish I could highlight that as red as well in the different ones. But I haven't found out a way to do that. Oh, okay, so here we go. So here's what I want to do. Average discount percent, which this would then be red, apply. And then you can't see it in the blue, which is a problem, right? And so I'm just going to reset it, all right, so that it looks kind of like that. All right, and then kind of planar. I know that this is going to float back over here later on, but so I'm going to wait on this. Last thing would be, why don't we, so we have these by the customer, I have these, do I need to use the line graph? Let's do a tall dashboard. So I'll bring this down here, and then I'm going to change my dashboard to be, let's double the height. Let's go to 1600, something like that. So maybe we get a little bit easier. And then this is going to be kind of a pain. I would get comfortable using the bar on the left. We're going to kind of resize things. So my map is just absolutely monstrous right now. Right, and so small stuff. So I'll do this drop down. I'll make it floating. All right, again, here, I would probably, this one I may try and drag. See, I'll put it here for a second, and then because my mouse ball doesn't like to roll very much, and I'll do this, and then bring this down to here, something where, and then I can change this to be wide, so range item, single row, so that they're kind of across various ones. All right. So nothing too kind of crazy there. We'll scroll up. I'll change the category. So maybe I'll put, what do we want to do here? So let's let them play with both, right? So I'll put this up top, and I'll put this, maybe this one I'm going to make floating. All right, here, I'll do floating. I'll bring this over here, and again, this is all going to change when I close this. All right, so now I may do this here, and then I'm just kind of looking at it. All right, so it's kind of ugly, but at least now everything kind of fits. It would be interesting, again, to have our maps kind of be a little bit more integrative, so maybe have this thing filter a little bit by, if I hover over one of these maps, this will, so if I'm kind of thinking, so I can build one action. So if I hover over these, it would be interesting to see the visuals filter based upon these things. And this thing may be even a little tall, so it's kind of bugging me. So maybe I'll do, see what 1400 look like. Maybe a little bit easier to kind of navigate. I think this thing's maybe taking up a little too much space, honestly. Something like that. Okay, so now let's add our actions. All right, and so I'm going to first hide the field label, and then we'll do a dashboard, and then we'll do an action here. And so I'm going to do add an action. I'm going to do a filter one, and then we might as well do them all talking to one another. So by state, that's going to just tell me what the region is down here, but I think for now, there, and then we'll do show all values so it comes off. Let's just see what it does, and we'll do okay. We always want to kind of test it out. So if I hover over Texas, that will reduce, and it should show us only one region, which is really cool, right there. And then I should be able to hover over this, and then you'll kind of see the different ways that it's going through. And then if I hover over down here, the west, it just shows the various regions that we go through, which is kind of hard to see. So maybe if I can't really zoom out of my screen anymore, but something like that. All right, so this is going to be rename constructor dashboard. All right, and then I'm going to do a dashboard title, right, and then I'll scroll up to the top, and I'll just retitle this analysis of discount practices, something like that. And I like to center, apply, something like that. I'll do okay. If I did the category, and I just do furniture, I notice right now the map is the only thing. Is it changing? It may be only filtering down here. So let me check this off, and I'll just scroll down. Again, it is maybe a little bit too big. Yeah, so the numbers are changing slightly. And so what I want to do is I'll use it for all of them. So I'll do a drop down, apply to worksheets. Let's do selected worksheets and okay, discount over time. I could do like this. I could do okay. All right, and then this even seems a little big. I don't know if you want to put it on like a floating spot or something of that nature. But let's see if this thing filters. Yeah, everything kind of filters. There. We could do dynamic titles and all that stuff, but again, I don't want this to last a crazy amount because I want you to have time to go and format your own. And so I will do like basic formatting from the title. I like dark just because again, my eyes are probably always on the computer all the time. All right, and then yeah, I'll say discounts by state and center white, apply, okay. I would probably format this as well, Control A. Can't really see anything, there we go. This we can make black, I think, and bold it, and do okay, and there we go, it kind of pops up there. All right, I'm just gonna move this down here. Centered, let's see, discount, oops, caps lock. Discount by subcategory. All right, and then again, make this white, apply, okay. All right, and the last thing would be here, this. Okay. So little things. I only want to show 2 more things. Well, see now I'm looking at this and it's bugging me, so I'm gonna go in. Control A. I don't know why I have to make it black again, bold. And it will kind of pop up. It doesn't have the text on it to show me the white, so you still have to go here. Why can't I format this legend? Yeah, just some odd things that kind of pop up there. Okay. Then the 2 kind of newer things are little things like annotations that you can add into little pieces. And so for us, right, I'm going to create this and you don't have to create it, but I may do something like where's state here, discount percent, just to kind of get to know, and then flip it. I don't want to flip it. I want to go large to smallest. I can see that Illinois has the largest discount percentage, right? So I can actually annotate that. So I'm actually going to delete this. All right. And then on an actual map, if you're trying to kind of build in like other ways to see it, you can add things to the visuals that kind of make things look a little bit easier. There's tons of things that you can go into this that we can kind of jump into. I'm just going to do an annotation, which I guess it makes me do one first. Right, so again, you gotta like things are kind of hidden sometimes. So I'm gonna right click, and then what you'll do is you can do like an annotation. So you can do a mark, a point, an area. It's up to you. I'll look at kind of point and just say like Illinois has the highest average discount percentage. And this may be something where I make this red, and then I'm just going to see what it looks like. And so then you could do something where maybe it's off the map that it can kind of see people. And then you can right click and format this thing where you can have a border on it so it makes it a little bit nicer. That's black. You can do like a shading inside of it where something like this or a light gray or something that looks nice. You can end things like on the line with like an arrow that points right at it, like, and it can be like really, really big, really, really small. It can be a dot, something like that. That may make sense here for Illinois. And then the box can be kind of however you kind of want it. I like the 4 edges there. So it's just like an annotation on it so we can kind of see it. And if you go back to the dashboard, you'll see that in there, which is really nice. It's nicer than pulling in like a text box. I still would just to kind of let the reader kind of know. And so again, I'm going to go to floating text box, bring this up here, and I would say something like, use the filters to explore the breakdown by category and to identify the top 5 states or discounts. All right, something like this, where again, this could be maybe black, italics, hit OK. And it's just kind of right up here. And I may format it such that it's maybe a little bit more stacked. And again, I may do right click, format text object. I want to align them things in the center, stuff of that nature. And so you can make this kind of smaller and just make sure it kind of fits where you want it. You may then add to it. So it's hard to kind of see. I don't really know why. Hover over the visuals. To filter by the various, I don't know, not really categories, various, I don't know, we'll say items. My brain can't really think at the moment right now. So this may be something like this, just so they kind of know to go over, kind of see. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to create your own dashboard, right? It's going to be at least 2 visuals that talk about cost and or cost per item. Now they can be more visuals, anything like that. It doesn't really matter to me, but rather than put them in a story point, what I want you to do is, so I'll rename this student dashboard. I'm going to have you use what we call buttons. And so if you scroll down here, right, you're going to see a bunch of different things. And so I think a really cool, interesting one you can bring in. So you can like bring in tons of things like images. You could go through and bring in websites, URLs, things of that nature. Images are pretty cool because then you can link them to web pages, which I think makes a lot more sense. Right, but what you can go in, right, is then bring in navigation. And it's going to come out and it's going to look hideous, right? And so it looks awful. We're going to modify this, right? You can double click, and then you could enter the title. So this would be like, click to navigate to the student's visual, something like that. It is text. You could bring in an image if you really wanted to. It's kind of up to you. I may show you that here in just a second. We'll do no border. The background can be whatever, maybe like something like this. You can do lots of like interesting things and then do apply. And then the font's always huge. You can then also, right, on the tooltip, you could be like, click here to see a visual created by the student regarding cost data, something like that. And then you've got to go in and change the font here. So like I may make this like, I don't know, let's do 10, apply, okay. And then we can just kind of circle this around. I can't remember if it can wrap the text. Something like this. And again, you can format this the way you want. So edit the button, where again, it's more limited. You can make this thing, instead of being floating, you can uncheck it and it will fit it somewhere. It usually likes to fit it either at the very bottom like this, or again, you can kind of drag it. I may drag this one right at the very, very top maybe. All right, so I put it up here. And again, it looks hideous because of all the floating things that I have, but maybe at the top, something of that nature. All right, right now, it doesn't do anything. You have to tell it. All right, so I do the drop down, and you can do the edit button, and then we got to tell it where to go. Well, I want it to go whatever you named your dashboard. So student dashboard, we hit apply, we do OK. And I don't like this background, so I may modify it again, where background, Maybe just a darker gray, something like that. Let's apply. Maybe let's just change it up. Let's do, red's gonna look something like that. It pops, whatever. I wish I had, give me the more colors. One cool thing here is if you do know the combinations, you can actually type them in. So one, I'll show you a cool trick here. So I'm gonna pull up a couple things, and then all right, so if you just Google what are the U of A hex color codes, right, it actually has them in here, which Tableau, you can actually sometimes just put them in. But if I click on this, it will tell me usually, what color code do we want? All right, so if I want this exact navy blue, right, I'll just type that in. So here, right, I'll copy, right here. Right, so I have the exact color of U of A. Another kind of cool way that I found to figure this out is, right, so I've just opened PowerPoint here. A really interesting thing that you can do is, right, so I've just brought in a logo. And so let's say I just want, I don't know why it's typing in white. It's not what I want. I'll do black. Logos over top of it, duh. But what I wanted to know this number, what I could do is I could go into, right, the color, do the dropper, eyedropper, and I could click that, and then it will change that to that exact color there. All right, from here, and like Google and things have these on the extension, like there are extensions you can do if you really want to be precise and match it. But for the eyedropper, if you hover over, right, and you wait, it should pop up. I hope this is the same on Macs, but it's red, green, blue, 12, 35, 75, which I go back into here and it's close, right? So if I did 12, 35, 75. That kind of looks very, very similar to the U of A blue. And it might be off a little bit because I stole that image from online just to use it. But then I'll do apply and do okay. So I kind of like the navy blue there. And then it looks like it doesn't work, but if you hover over it, it'll say Alt click. I don't think it works for Macs, but then it takes me there. If you ever want to see like what it would look like online, would be here's what it looks like online. So we can kind of scroll. Right, again, mine's kind of ugly because I haven't done the back end work, but then click on it here. And it'll take you to these visuals that you've dropped over. What you could do, I mean, if you like an actual button, honestly, sometimes I'll have some people do things where if I go online, I may just do like PNG of a button. All right, like this. I don't know why this isn't working. All right, and I'll do images. All right, and okay, I don't like that button. Let's do like PNG of a. I kind of like this one. All right, and then I'm going to save the image as, and I'll just put it in maybe my downloads folder. It is a JPEG, so it may not look as nice. I really want this to be a PNG, but I'll just do button. All right, and then some things that you can do is you can bring in a navigation, and then when you edit it, edit the button, tell it you want it to be an image, and choose the image. And I'll go to my downloads folder, button, do okay, and then you can kind of play around with it, but you may now need to be like, click here to see the instructors rough tutorial. Right, something like that, and then we do apply and do okay. All right, and right now it looks kind of ugly just because one, it saved it as a terrible color, but I can make it floating, but it's not a PNG. So if you can, I would go into Google, and you can do filters most of the time on these where, let's see if I can find it more. All right, I've looked for a bunch of PNGs that usually when you have something like this on the background, it won't have that. But I don't want to go through and download a bunch of these and get us kind of in trouble. Maybe I could find an Arizona PNG, something like that. really the only way to see is we're going to save the image as, and this is an ugly image, I'm aware. It does say PNG, but then open it. You don't want the clip art in the background, so it's so that you can basically just put this image in. This one actually looks like one. Save image as is a PNG, but let's look at it. There, so now like this is what you should see as a PNG, right? You don't see that kind of background piece. And so then what you could do is, so I had to close Tableau because it was going slow again. So let me open it really quick. Right, on the student dashboard, you could bring in a navigation button, go here, edit the button, and then make it an image. We'll choose that one that we just downloaded. Open. And this one wouldn't make sense to use, but if you want to have fun with it, you can. Click here to see the instructor's rough visual, something like that. We'll do apply, we'll do okay. It does come in kind of washed out, so maybe we can do something there where background, border, image, let's just do none. Do okay. I'm not sure why it comes in so kind of washed out. I'm going to make it floating, something of this nature. And I'm doing the, again, I should, there's no way to hold shift and lock on this, so you just got to be kind of careful. This, it doesn't have a border right now, so maybe you could use that again. This is kind of ugly, so I may stick with just the standard one for now, unless you want to play around. So I need two visuals, a box underneath it that describes it, and then I want the button to link back to mine. And so I would do edit button, navigate to, and then this would be instructor dashboard, apply, okay. Oh, it's because it wasn't active. That's why I was like, man, why is it so dull? Now, when you hover over it, click to see it, you can either hold Alt, click, or go back to presentation mode, and this is what it will look like on Excel or on Tableau when you do it. My thing's just taking a little while to load. Let's talk saving here. So you'll have these dashboards, but right, I kind of want it when you save it is all I see is this. And again, I know that this is blank here. You're going to have visuals, but when you save it, I want you to be looking at this, right? I don't want to see this because everyone's going to have kind of the same kind of pieces on it. And again, I'm okay with the kind of scroll and stuff here. So what you're going to do is make sure you're looking at your dashboard. Obviously save locally wherever you have it, and then, so I'll do file, save, and it should save locally. Then you're going to do file, save to Tableau public. If you haven't saved it on there yet, then you'll do save to Tableau public as. You'll have to sign in here, which I'll save you. All right. I would save it not as this. I would go ahead into the assignment and maybe save it something like follow-up e-commercial or e-commerce. I don't know why I want to say commercial. Something that's more business relevant. I just think it looks nicer. Again, you could do something else like cost analysis because technically, I'll change this to cost analysis. I'll then save it. Done. It's going to prepare the view. Thinking through. Okay, and it should save on here to where you see it. And you can kind of play around with it. But again, I only want to see your visual. I don't want to see all the other ones because I should have the button, right, to be able to click and go see mine, the one that I've done. So I want this one on yours here on this kind of piece. If there are like sizing things that you want to edit that you don't like, rather than like downloading, saving it again, if you actually go and sign in, which it should be automatic after this, you can actually, I should have something here where I can't remember if it's edit. So these are the details, but you can edit the visualization here where I'm going to zoom in. So I've got my mouse. Where if you want to play around with the sizing to maybe make it fit a little bit easier, you could do that. And then what you do is, so maybe I'll go to the instructor dashboard. Again, maybe I make it a little taller, something of that kind of nature, so it fits. But again, make sure you go back to where you want it saved, and then you'll do publish. And oddly enough, it just like it'll give you a little thing here, but then it keeps you in that mode. You need to close and then go here. And then in terms of what you submit, you can take this link, right? This URL, you can share from here. Make sure you don't give me the embed code, but the link here. You can also just go to your profile, and as long as it's titled something effective, we can go through and do that. So you'll take the link, put it in the Excel file, paste it, save it, and then submit this to Brightspace D12. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.